What's up, everybody? It's a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D. It's Tuesday night. It's 9 o'clock. Your boys are with you now. Got a lot to talk about as usual, packed into an hour. We're talking Flyers trade rumors, who's going to go, who's the guy that's going to be on the chopping block, as the title says. A couple names could come out of this, a couple maybe dark horses, maybe. Again, similar to last week, we're talking about the draft picks, who's going to make the roster. Always love a good dark horse story. We're also going to preview the Stanley Cup Finals coming up starting on Saturday, I believe. June 8th is, I believe, a Saturday. So we're going to preview the Florida Panthers versus the Edmonton Oilers. Boy, who had that on their bingo card? I don't think anybody did.
Nope.
All right, boys. We're going to hit that like. We're going to hit that subscribe. We're going to hit that share button. If you're over on Facebook, drop everything in the comments. We want to hear from you guys all night long. So let's go. Let's do this. It's time to talk some puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Flyers Talk A2D. I am Matt Sensuti, along with the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
What's good?
The Broken One, Rob Povia.
Man, people have been going at it in the Flyers chats all day. This is going to be an exciting show. Can't wait. Glad to be back, too. Thank you.
Yes, welcome back, brother. And Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, possibly appearing tonight. Big bad Brad Ryer. Albeit, though, probably a little annoyed after recent results. And we welcome all of you here to Flyers Talk A2D. Brought to you by, once again, Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. So that way you don't have any more aches and pains. You just make an appointment, head to Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. They got great teams in both locations, and you won't have to worry about having that nagging problem in your shoulder or an issue with your knee or whatever problems that might be giving you some stings and some nasty little vibes every now and again. You'll be perfect, is what I'm trying to say, when you walk out of there. And the poll question is, the Flyers will be the most active team in the trade market this offseason. Agree or disagree? And gentlemen, we all know that the Flyers have a lot of decisions to make. They have some re-signings to possibly do, some extensions to file. However, though, they also have some difficult choices to make, possibly, in terms of trading or in terms of possibly skipping a few picks to move up, maybe make a couple of exchanges for another round, or maybe for next year's deeper draft. The point being is that there's decisions, and there's a lot to talk about. So, do you agree or disagree? Will the Flyers be the most active team in the trade market, gentlemen? Who wants to start us off?
I don't think this was supposed to be the poll question. I don't think that ever got changed.
Oh,
that's right, though. We'll run with it. Let's run with it. Good. Adapting on the fly. I agree with the poll wholeheartedly. I think they are going to be the most active team. They got to free up cap space. They got to get rid of some of the dead weight that's on this roster. They also got to get rid of some of the guys that are going to get something in somewhat middle to high value in return. You know, you got to figure out a way to, get Cam Atkinson off the books and get some of that money back, even if that means buying him out. I'd rather trade him and see if you can at least get him off the books sooner than if you buy him out. A couple other names I've heard. Morgan Frost is really starting to heat up as far as, a trade candidate. Scott Laughton is for some reason always seems to be popping up, even though he's one of the better players on the roster as far as leadership and locker room presence goes. And that means a lot to a young team. A lot of other names popping up. To Derek's point, maybe Travis Konechny. Who knows? I mean, his contract's coming up shortly. I believe it's the end of this year. So you gotta free up some cap space somewhere. You gotta free up the spaces for the young kids getting ready to come up. You had two guys specifically have really good showings in the Memorial Cup and the OHL tournament. So might be time to start making some of that room. So I'm going to agree with the poll. It's time to ship some of these guys out and really start getting his rebuild going.
All right, then. Got John chiming in here. I saw something, Brady Tkachuk. I'd give up TK and the Florida pick and the second round pick. That's him.
Ixnay that. Ottawa's already come out and said no to these trade rumors. Brady Tkachuk is not available.
All right,
David.
I heard that too.
Derek saying, wouldn't mind trading Konechny. By the way, Rosca's here saying, what's up, boys? Saying Rob Niedermeyer, Povia.
No. No
Niedermeyer.
comparison there, please.
It's
You
a
can
lot.
find better players than that for you.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Let's see.
Nicely done, Brian.
You said, well, as soon as you went no, I'm like, oh, we have that in the background.
By the way, also, he picks the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup in 5, and he says they're a dynasty as back-to-back Eastern Conference champs. Well, they're not a dynasty, because that would imply that they won the Stanley Cup a few times. They have not done that, but they have won the East 2 years in a row, so that's got to count for something. And so, who wants to pick up where Brian left off here? Rob, Brad, who wants to go? Rob?
I'll answer a couple questions here. First of all, if you're going to compare me to somebody, compare me to Rob Ray. That's that would be a better, more accurate comparison. But Brian, I'll answer both polls for you because we talked about a lot of this in the HUD group earlier today, as well as in Flyers Talk group. In terms of, will Scott Laughton be a Flyer next season, and will the Flyers be the most active team in the trade market this offseason? I think I am going to disagree with both of those, right? In terms of most active, I think active, yes. Most active, not so sure. There's not as much cap maneuverability this offseason as next, but if they want to shed a major piece on the wing for a top-line center or to move up in the draft for a Hellenis or an Agilna, I'm here for it. But if you noticed within that answer, Brian, I'm saying the area of strength for the Flyers to trade from is from the wing, especially the right-hander, the right-hand winger, assuming Mitchkov does come over this summer, but they're still pretty deep in that. That's your area of strength. In terms of trading a player, and there's been a lot of conjecture about there, Scott Laughton was the most talked about name during the Flyers trade deadline at the end of the 2023-24 season. And Noah Cates, yeah, people want to desire that. But now you're going to weaken your center core. I don't think that makes too much sense. And if it's a thing of the Flyers are, they're falling out of it and it's the trade deadline this year, right? I think to your point, Brian, right, that might be a good time to move him. But this offseason, I don't think is a good time to move your centers. If you're going to try to trade up, trade wingers, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, we were definitely talking about that earlier, and I think that's a great thing because I even brought it up too. I don't necessarily see Laughton being moved before the draft. Do I still think they're going to be active before the draft? Absolutely. I think that's going to listen. Laughton right now is a piece that you absolutely need for this roster. That piece that you need for this rebuild. Like I said, locker room presence, veteran presence, maybe not always the most productive, maybe a little streaky when it comes to offensive production. But you know what? Laughton is still that guy a lot of people are going to go to. I said this a couple weeks ago. You want to match Mitchkov if he comes over with a center, a veteran center? There's nobody better on this roster than Scott Laughton to pair him up with. Again, maybe not necessarily for the point production. Mitchkov might be fine either way. But you want to talk about a guy who understands the game, a guy who understands the speed of the game, a guy the young guys turn to for some form of leadership. It's Scott Laughton. Scott Laughton's the guy. There's a reason he was the only one wearing a letter before Sean Couturier was named the captain. So maybe Laughton is a deadline deal.
This
I
is
think he will
truth.
be.
This is truth. I just think ultimately, if you have to part with him later on, that's fine. But he belongs on the bottom six, right? That's where he could really thrive, right? When you put him in that top six where he's got to be a shutdown center, that really doesn't fit to his skill set, right? So if you want to start Mitchkov off light on a lower line and pair him up and let him learn from the vet, again, I'm here for it. But I'm more jazzercised about Morgan Frost with Mitchkov because I think that's what is going to bring this lineup the most upside. And
No, agreed.
right. And if, like I said, there's a lot of talk out there, Timmy McAllister talking about you think Panarin for Konechny trade. I don't see that happening between the Rangers. I think that's a little far-fetched. But in terms of the Konechny trade, right? All right, so he comes out this, of recent and says, okay, the asking price is going to be $10 million, right? Well, that's part of the negotiations, baby. And I really feel that him and the Flyers can find a happy medium to make this thing work and keep this team competitive and being able to also sign other young players to their ELC, right? If he stays staunch to that 10, then again, right winger, a little expendable with Mitchkov coming off, right? I don't think it's Panarin, but I think you can get a pretty price or a move up in, this draft or next year's draft.
Okay, and that's a lot of interesting ideas right there, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Flyers explored those opportunities and those possibilities there. Continuing on, we'll see how many tallies we get here on this. So John is saying Edmonton in 6. He also stated earlier he might have been the only one who had Edmonton in his bracket. So
congratulations on that one.
Yeah. Did you throw some money on it? Because you
Yeah.
might have been in line for some.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, I got to disagree with that poll.
All right.
Okay. They're not going to be the most active. They'll do a few things to tidy up, but I don't see them making any major moves yet. Especially if they don't know what's going on with Mitchkov. There's no reason for them to rush this. No matter what they do, they're not going to be Stanley Cup contenders next year. Okay? If you think making the playoffs and getting destroyed in the first round the way the Capitals did is progress, I would disagree. I wouldn't even bother showing up if you're going to get clobbered like that. Okay? Stick to your guns, stick to your rebuild, and do what you have to do. As far as Panarin, guys, he's not going anywhere, even though some of us might like to see him get sent to Siberia right now. He's got a no trade, and he wanted to come to New York. That's why he ended up playing for the Rangers. And he took less, believe it or not, he took less money from the Rangers than he could have gotten from the Islanders. And I forgot who the other team was that wanted him really badly. But there were 2 other teams that offered him more money, and one of them was the Islanders. And he didn't want to go there. He wanted to play for the Rangers. So we're stuck with him, for better or for worse. As far as TK, yeah, I'd love to have him. I mean, he would be a perfect right wing to play with Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. Maybe it would wake those 2 guys up. It's a lot easier to add than to get rid of. So, and Zibanejad, we can't get rid of him either because he's got a no trade. Now, if you guys would like to trade Konechny for Trouba, I would welcome that because he's got a limited trade contract now, and so does Kreider. But I don't think they would trade Kreider because Kreider's kind of a legend now after what he did against the Hurricanes. So
Interesting.
Absolutely.
But in any event, I don't think they're going to be the most, because there's a lot of teams that really need to move things along, especially like teams like San Jose, Anaheim.
I gotta ask, Brad, are you packaging Trouba with Shesterkin? Because then we got a deal.
No, that's not
right. Come on, Maddie. 30-year-old defensemen don't grow on trees. Let's make this deal now.
Right.
Yeah, 30-year-old defensemen are like the chicken wing people.
The joke's on Brad though, because it's all about Igor. It has nothing to do with Trouba.
Yeah.
Igor's
No, you know what?
I'm going to put this out there real quick.
Trouba was playing with a broken ankle, by the way.
Supposedly.
So, well, that's what I read. So.
Throw the
No, I
suspicion.
read it too, but I don't.
He's slow.
I don't.
He was slow enough without the broken ankles, so I don't know about that. I'm kind of wanting him to go, but no, there's going to be a lot of moves by a lot of teams. So I think as far as what the Flyers do, I think they're basically going to do some roster cleanup. I don't think you're going to see anything major out of them. And I do got to tell you guys, don't overreact to Michkov coming here. Just remember, Kaprizov was came to Minnesota, and Minnesota hasn't done jack with him.
Yeah.
Okay, and when Panarin first came to the Rangers, they didn't make the playoffs either. So I mean, it's these guys coming over from Russia. They may
Takes
be
time
great.
to adjust.
Yeah, they may be great, and they probably are all great. Okay, but the first year it's kind of tough. They got to learn the league.
Right.
They got to learn the league. They got to kind of learn the goalies and see who where the goalies' weaknesses are, and learn to play with their teammates. Just learn the language in general. It's a real hard adjustment for these guys.
Life issues. Just learn how to play bills. Basic things. It's a change, Brad.
Yeah, well, it's also a smaller ice surface too. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the game they can adjust to. I think it's a lot of the life issues around the game.
Yeah, it is a little different though, Rob. It's a smaller rink.
Right.
So I mean, listen, if the guy's a great skater, the guy's a great skater. Okay,
Right.
And that's not going to change anything. But still, there's a little less room to operate. That's all I'm saying. And don't forget, with one thing about the KHL, okay, the first lines are all as good as the NHL players. I'm gonna give you that. But once you get past the first lines, the depth overall in that league is nowhere near the NHL.
Right.
Nowhere near it. They all have good first lines, but then after that, it's a little sketchy. The top teams, like the Red Army and some of the other teams, will have a little depth, but most of those teams after the first line, it's
right.
kind of hit or miss with the rest of the players. You don't see second line Russians come into the NHL.
Right. They get them as teammates though too. They get that depth of talent as teammates too. So that could be a feather in the cap.
Oh yeah. No. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying that Michkov won't be a great player.
But you got to temper expectations. I'm right with you. I'm right with you.
Be careful about his first year. I mean, even Kaprizov couldn't quite get this. And you know how great a player he is. He didn't really help Minnesota because Minnesota didn't have anybody to play with him. I mean, and as great as he was, my God, he made Neil Hartman look like look like the second coming of Connor McDavid, for God's sakes. It's going to be, the Flyers have a lot of young talent. They may have to take a step backwards next year to take two steps forward. If you're going to incorporate all the young talent, which is what it seems like you guys want them to do and what they want to do, the young players are going to have to get in there and get experience and grow up. It could take them 10 games. It could take them 80 games. It depends. Sometimes young players just come right in and play really great. It just, everybody's different. Everybody's on a different growth level. Right. Sometimes you get Adam Fox walking right in and being great, and sometimes you get Crapo Crocco who's a big piece of crap and can't score goals in the regular season or the playoffs and be a second round pick. So,
So Don's saying, "What's up, fellas? Brad, it's okay, buddy. At least you have the Yankees." And
oh boy, listen,
Greg,
your Tigers are playing a lot better, by the way, Don.
Greg's also saying, "What's up, my guys? I agree to the poll." Says, "Let Danny B cook." Mike saying, "So Robbie is Angel Hernandez in disguise."
Why would you say that?
I don't know. Ask Mike.
Hernandez.
I thought we were on the same page today, Mike. What happened? What happened from an hour ago till now? What I do?
Hernandez.
What I do?
You know what you did, Rob.
That's a shot.
No, he called me out right. I've made plenty of bad decisions in my life. This is well known. So
Haven't we all?
maybe I am Angel Hernandez. I don't know.
Can you see the difference between a ball and a strike?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well then you're not Angel Hernandez.
Boom.
So,
It's funny. Billy Crystal was on Saturday night when the Yankees were playing the Giants, and he's so bad. Somebody missed it. Somebody missed a pitch. A Giant missed a pitch that was had to be it looked like a foot outside, and the umpire called it a strike. So Billy Crystal goes, I thought Angel retired. and the other two guys in the booth said, "You got to be careful what you say. We could get in trouble for that. You could just walk away. We."
Chucks, by the way, says, "Yo, gentlemen," and it also says, "Is Howie Roseman running the Flyers? If so, then agree to the poll." In all seriousness, though, I agree regardless. So, like the joke.
I mean, he's made a couple of really good moves so far, and I really like where Danny's head's at. So, he could be Howie Roseman 2.0.
Could be. Hopefully not.
If he manages the cap like Howie, unbelievable.
Dylan saying, "What's going on, fellas? Disagree to the poll. I think the Flyers will be heavy listeners, but not actively searching outside of Coots for a trade."
Well, maybe Ristolainen.
You can't. I don't think they're trading Coots yet. I think there's too much contract there and too much salary to eat for him.
Right.
And I think it would be a mistake, too, because you figure one more year, now he played, after not playing for so long, he's got to come back stronger conditionally, right? Mm-hmm. And be that, that 200-foot player that we saw back in 2012. Well, maybe not quite that good, but a little older and longer in the tooth, but to that, of that ilk.
But I will say this. This is his, put up or shut up year.
Yes.
This is the year of, you have to, if you're going to be the captain, you got to be the captain. You got to play like the captain. You got to be the guy. You got to be the leader. If that means scoring clutch, score clutch. If that means getting something set up, get something set up. If that means that you're going to the dirty areas when no one else is going to the dirty areas, you do it. I'm not saying Coots hasn't done it. He has. But after a little bit of a disappointment down the stretch there with him, this is a time for him to really step up here after all the injuries, after getting the C and everything. Prove it time. Let's see if this was the best investment and putting the C on you was the right decision. And that's what we got here this year for him. Dylan saying, also Flames are rumored to be talking with the Devils for the 10th overall pick after them at 9 would be Markstrom and a 28th overall pick with possible Mangiapane included.
I heard Anaheim's in on that too.
Would it be a 3-team deal or just strictly, it's either going to be the Devils or Anaheim?
I think it's going to be either the Flames or Anaheim.
Okay.
Anaheim has Gibby they can offer up and probably second round pick and a mid-level prospect.
Interesting.
Anaheim has more young players to offer than the Devils do. Please deal with the Anaheim.
I mean, let's be. I'm going to say this though.
Screw the Devils.
I'm going to say this though. I don't know if Jacob Markstrom is the answer for them. I don't know if that's really
the way he played this year.
I just I don't know if that's going to.
Do you really want him to be on the Devils? Because then you're definitely not going to make the playoffs.
I mean, I don't want him to be anywhere near the Flyers. Actually, I don't want anybody to be on the Devils, quite frankly. I want the Devils to be non-existent. But, I mean, the thing is that, is he, even if they make the playoffs, is he good enough to get them over the hump? You know what I mean? Freddie Anderson's a perfect example of a guy who, he can get you through the season. When it comes time for the playoffs, it's the countdown to when he has his self-destruct button that's going to be, pushed. And Brad, your Rangers saw that firsthand. So
Well, it's a tough situation for the Devils because they need a goaltender, and
They
there's a
do.
couple teams out there that have that. Look, Calgary and Anaheim are the two best situations here for the Devils because they have that goaltending depth.
I
You know,
absolutely.
even if whether it's Gibson or Markstrom, Calgary still has Vladar and Dustin Wolf, and Dustin Wolf is supposed to be a magnificent talent. Anaheim has Lucas Dostal, who just won the gold medal at the World Juniors or at the World Championships, and then maybe sign a backup goaltender. But I mean, realistically, those are the two teams that are probably the best match for the Devils to make that deal and deal the 10th round pick for a goaltender or for a 10th overall pick for a goaltender because they need it. It was what killed them this year.
There's a lot of good teams that need a really good goaltender, though.
Yeah, that's true. Mike said, wouldn't it be funny if the Devils' biggest improvement is Markstrom and they win 5 games only?
Just think if Markstrom went to the Colorado Avalanche.
They have no money for him.
Huh?
Mike also says, let's not
That's
forget
a
about.
good point. Yeah, they're pretty capped out.
Mike also said, let's not forget about how damn solid Skinner has become a net for the Edmonton. People wrote him off. Well, okay. I'm going to say this about Skinner. I don't think it's just Skinner because I think the whole team has actually been playing some really good defense. Something that I thought I would never say about the Edmonton Oilers.
Do you know where they got their coach from?
Flyers?
No, a Knobloch.
Knobloch used to be. He
was coaching the Hartford Whale this year. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, they're the AHL.
That would be the New York Rangers farm team.
Your guest. That's what you told me.
That was my watch.
Apparently, your watch was not a big fan of that drop there.
Theory doesn't agree. But no, that Chris, what's his name? Chris Knobloch was coaching the Rangers AHL farm team at the beginning of the season. And, so now everybody's like, you had this guy in your farm system and you signed Laviolette. But I want to add that, yeah, they don't have Connor McDavid on the team. They don't have Draisaitl either. Evan Bouchard is not exactly he's not exactly bad.
But here's the thing. It was never offense with the Oilers. It was never the issue of offense. It was, can the team play both sides? That's always was the problem.
They proved that they can do that. I mean, listen, they were severely outplayed by Dallas. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay, Dallas in that series, as far as who outplayed who, Dallas completely outclassed and outplayed them. They just couldn't score. And it seemed like every time Edmonton got a high percentage scoring opportunity, they cashed in.
I mean, that just shows you how deadly the offense is for Edmonton. But for the defensive side of the puck, I mean, I think all-around team effort. I think it goes to show that, unfortunately, as much as I hate defensive hockey, because it can get a little boring at times, a little dry at times. However, it can pay dividends if you know how to do it well. And are the Oilers perfect at it? No, but they have been able to protect leads. So you got to give them that. You have to give them that.
Listen, if they play well enough to hold the other team to 3 goals, okay, they're going to win because they have enough offense. What really impressed me, though, was the fact that they were able to beat Dallas 2-1. And Edmonton, that was one thing Edmonton could never do before this year's playoffs. And if you think about that team, they went from worst to first this year. About like St. Louis. I mean, do you remember how bad they were at the beginning of the season?
Oh, yeah, they were brutal.
I mean, you guys shut them out twice, right?
I think the Flyers did shut them out the first game.
They gave up 1 goal. They gave up 1 goal in Edmonton the second game, I believe.
Right. And I think the Sharks beat them, too, shortly thereafter.
Vancouver beat them 8-1.
Yeah. So
I just remember at the beginning of the season, the Rangers went into Edmonton and beat them 4-1.
yeah, they had a real rough go of it. By the way, guys,
They were brutal.
hold up, Brett. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. See that? There you go. Like, subscribe, bell icon. That way you can't miss any of the content that we got here at A2D Radio. Not just this show, but all the other great shows that we got out there for football, basketball, baseball, wrestling. We got it all here.
Hey guys, I
right.
wanted to ask you while we're at it about who's on the chopping block. What is the deal with Ristolainen? I read today that in the 31 games that he played, he was one of the top defenders on the team. And not only was he one of the top defenders, but I think his Corsi was really high, and the shots on goal was a huge difference. It was one of the highest in NHL in differential for the Flyers. So he was pretty good. He was pretty good when he played. He only played 31 games, though. And apparently a lot of NHL GMs have noticed that. And then they went on further to mention that the Flyers are not going to just give this guy away. So what do you think happens with him?
I mean, I would give him away. That'd just be my personal take on the matter. But, literally, you can call me up and say, hey, I got a bag of pucks that you can take for Ristolainen. It's like, yeah, take them. I don't care.
This is something Elliot Friedman mentioned. So when he
I'm
says stuff
questioning
like
Elliot Friedman on that one, but okay.
Yeah, when he mentions it, that's why I brought it up because he mentioned that, and he said he doesn't think the Flyers are just going to give him away like a lot of people think they're going to.
So, he played a really strong 31 games before he got hurt.
He did. That's what they're saying. They said that he was really good, and and the Flyers missed him when he got hurt. Their defense suffered. So,
I don't know. I personally, for me, I've not been a fan of Risto.
I've never been a fan of his either. He makes an awful lot. He makes an awful lot of money. I think if you guys could unload him,
that's the thing that really bothers me about him the most was that contract. If his contract wasn't as bad as it was, it'd be like, you know what? If you were a third pair defenseman and you're making like $2 million per year on your contract, I can live with that. The fact that he's making what, $5 a year?
Here's your Trouba.
Yeah, essentially that's what he is. It's like you are a waste of cap, a legitimate waste of cap.
Except Trouba makes $8 million, so it's a lot worse.
Still,
I think with Risto, he just fits a need that nobody else on this team can, and that's just that physical. He occupies so much space on the ice that there's going to be natural positive effects. But I get it. He hasn't lived up to the contract. He hasn't lived up to what we thought we could get from Buffalo. If you did part with a player like that, then Danny B could focus on defense in the first round and go after Carter Yakmanchuk, who brings a lot of big size as well as scoring ability.
Right. That is true. I mean, I like anything. I think he is right though about not just giving Risto away, because obviously you're going to want to. I mean, if somebody's willing to, offer you something and it's actually worth it, it's like, all right, yeah, sure, take him. I ain't gonna fight you for it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
you
in other words,
they're
not gonna just give him away for a bag of pucks. They're gonna want something for him.
Right. But I mean, like I said, hey, if you're willing to give me something for him, it's like, take him. I'm not gonna.
Well, you know what though, if the Flyers were willing to maybe eat $2 million of his contract for this year only, for cap purposes, for another team, I could see him getting moved to Utah. I could see they have a ton of cap space, and those owners, they want to spend the money.
See him wear that nice Utah Hockey Club jersey.
That's, I could see something like that happening there.
Good. Priz is saying Allmark to the Canes for Natchez. If they could get the money to work, would it help both teams?
It would.
I don't think I'd want to see the Bruins get Natchez.
Yeah.
He just wants 7.5 mil on a max deal, so he's not. That's probably not going to happen.
I don't. How much is Allmark making, or how much do you think Allmark will be making?
I could tell you in a second.
Only reason why is because Derek's throwing out Toronto, and I am
I'm
not
guessing
so sure
between
about
five.
that.
I'm guessing around 5 a year.
Hey,
6 a year. He didn't have a good year this year.
What's up, bro?
Quick side question: the hockey club from Utah, do they have like an insignia out? Has that been released at all?
Not
Nope.
yet.
I could see it being that 1950s guy from those memes. You know what I mean? Just smoking his pipe. You know, chilling. Utah Hockey Club. Welcome to the mountains.
Maybe they'll call them the Mountains.
Yeah.
The Utah Mountains.
Yeah.
But didn't he
5
have
mil.
to be like 6'10" or something? He wants 5 mil.
He makes 5 mil.
Oh, he makes 5 mil. So do you think
that's
he'll?
that's what he's worth.
Do you think that he would try to get more after his time in Boston?
Sure.
Well, he's under contract, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure once he hits a free agency, I mean, he's 30. Give me a second here. On the dot, he's 30 on the dot.
Well, since he's got
That's prime time for goaltenders.
Well, since he's got one more year left on his contract that he's currently on, maybe Toronto isn't too far-fetched of a... I mean, Toronto is a team that will desperately try to fix a problem by grabbing a new player. So, and I don't think they were satisfied with the goaltending that they got from what's-his-nuts. Wool was fine, but the other one was terrible. So, No, not Swayman.
The guy they got
Toronto.
from Washington.
Was it? Who was it? Vanacek?
Swedish guy.
Oh, Vanacek's in St. Louis, San
No.
Jose.
Sorry, Jack Campbell. I thought Jack Campbell went to Toronto.
No,
So you're
Jack
talking
Campbell
about
went.
that guy?
Oh,
to-
Samsonov. Ilya Samsonov.
Samsonov. There we
Samsonov.
go.
God, there you
That's
go.
right. And you're
He
right.
was
Vanacek
awful.
was a shark. But yeah, Vanacek. Not Vanacek. Samsonov was. He was kind of rough in the Toronto jersey. So I would say maybe not out of the realm of possibilities for Toronto to try and get Allmark. I don't know what they would trade to get him, if anything, that they have that
Boston is
would
not.
want.
Boston is. Read my lips. Boston is not giving Toronto Allmark.
I'm sure that in the normal circumstances they wouldn't, but I mean, Boston got to feel a little cocky. They just beat him again. You're like, take him.
Yeah, if they give him
We'll still
Marner,
beat you.
Yeah, if they give him Marner, maybe.
Could you imagine that Mitch Marner going to the Bruins? Actually being match made in heaven. He's a prima donna and Boston's prima donna. So there you go. Anyway.
very much so.
He fit right with Brad Marchand, that's for sure.
No, he wouldn't actually.
They probably probably not.
No, Brad Marchand would probably beat the crap out of him because he didn't go in the corner to get a puck.
Let's see here. Mike's saying, what do you do if you're Dallas 2 years in a row losing the Western Conference Finals? Must light a fire somewhere and Ottinger look gassed. Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's got to be a little bit of that soul searching, I would have to think, in Dallas. You know, that's a rough loss for them 2 years in a row, losing in the Western Conference Finals. And obviously, Pavelski did retire, so it's such a shame that he's not going to get a Stanley Cup.
No,
But
not yet.
not yet.
Not yet. He's considering it.
He's considering it. Oh, okay.
I'll believe
it's the Bill
it when
Bergeron.
I actually see the press conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But with Dallas, you maintain what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Like if you have a young guy that if Pavelski does retire, you bring up another young kid. Keep getting younger. Look at what Wyatt Johnston did. Stankovic. They had good playoffs. Wyatt Johnston showed that he's got ice in his veins. He's made for the big time. He was the best player in the playoffs for the Dallas Stars. He just got started this year.
I think they are a sniper away. They need one more sniper on that team.
Now, would you argue and say that because Wyatt Johnson, as great as he was the best player on the Stars, and would you consider that to be one of the biggest damning things that Dallas had in this playoff run?
Absolutely.
Because great stuff that Wyatt did, but the problem is, like, he's your best player. What about Robertson? What about Ben? What about Sagan? What about guys that were supposed to show up? What's the
Matty,
excuse?
that's like the Rangers. Lafreniere was our best player in the playoffs. Now
Well,
that's great, but isn't Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin and Chris Kreider supposed to be the ones who are the same thing? Dallas and the Rangers are in the same kind of situation.
right.
They may have gone as far as their talent right now can take them, and they need. I'm not exactly sure what either team needs to do to get to the next level. I mean, if I'm the Rangers, I think I could give you two names who I'd like to see on the team next year: Bertuzzi and Domi.
Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Tyler Bertuzzi is going to win at least 6.5.
Huh?
Tyler Bertuzzi is going to win at least 6.5.
Well, you know what though? They need two nasty players on their team.
Let's go.
I will say this though, you probably could get Max Domi. I mean,
Bertuzzi probably is wishful thinking, but Domi is a third line center.
Right. You probably could get Domi. I could see that.
What's he going to cost? Like $2 million?
Maybe.
He's a pain in the ass, and you know what? They need pains in the asses on this team. They're too soft. They've been too soft for a long time.
I got you
Another
on
series win for the Phillies.
There you go. So
the Yankees beat up on their favorite team again tonight.
But
the Twins.
With Timmy saying now, how would you guys value Laughton compared to what is reportedly on the market already with Natchez, Marner, and Zegras? I don't think Laughton would get you any of those guys, to be completely honest with you. Love Laughton, love Superman, but no, I would not see a
First
team.
Of all, those are young players that have a lot of, a huge ceiling. And you kind of know what Laughton's ceiling is, and it's nowhere near that.
Right. I mean, Laughton is that gut check. He's a good gut check player. He's a good depth player that you can have on your team. I feel like he can be a good locker room guy. But at the same time, it's like he's not the guy that you trade to get a big return and you package him together with something for that big return.
He's a quality bottom six center iceman. Right, with he's got some scoring touch when he's subbed in on the top line over the course of his career here in Philadelphia. But if you look at last year and you want to look at it like analytically wise, Scott Laughton had the worst WAR on on the Philadelphia Flyers hockey team. Do you know who had the best WAR and who? This is why Buffalo Sabres are sniffing after him instead of Scott Laughton. The best WAR was Noah Cates. And that's why I don't really want to see traded, because I see a lot of promise in that kid, as well as his brother Jackson too. And I don't know, maybe I'm sentimental. I like brothers on the Flyers team, but I see him being part of the future, So I'd hate to see them losing that. Plus another guy that can play center ice as well as wing.
Right,
he's versatile.
Right.
Yeah, and in order to get any three of those guys, I mean, Marner's out just on his cap hit alone. His cap hit is absolutely massive.
Isn't it like 10 or 11 million?
Oh yeah, it's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, he's.
And keep in mind, Marner has a no trade clause, so you'd have to.
Now then, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he would have to waive it, and he would obviously have to have the list of the team. And I don't think the Flyers would be on that list. And even if they were, I don't see a deal getting worked out.
You know how much money they would have to give him?
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous.
I mean, it'd be cheaper to sign TK. It would really, honestly, because all right. Let me tell you this. Let me ask you this. Right now, TK's agent comes to the Flyers and says, "Look, we'll take 6 years, $8.6 million. Is it done deal?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't really see why that wouldn't be.
8 years, what? 8 years, $52 million?
6 years at 8.6.
Oh, 6 years. Oh, 6 years. 6 years, $52 million. In other words,
right.
Yeah, the math on that. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot for him. But you know what? If he can get it, God bless him.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think that he took huge steps, in terms of leadership wise for this team. He's been that guy who's been the voice for this team that was needed on many different occasions. So, I mean,
Do you want to take a leap of faith? Because that's a lot of money for him.
I mean, at this point, it's like, the Flyers are in a rebuild anyway. So, it's like, what more leap of faith can you take than to blow it up and start all over again, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
6 years he'll be
goals-
33. In 6 years he'll be 33.
It will take him 6 years to be good. To really get to it's going to take him. My opinion is they're going to need 2 to 3 years to really become contenders again, cup contenders. I'm not talking about making the playoffs and getting smoked. That doesn't count.
End of 6-year deal, he'll be 33. Just to see how worth it is to sign that deal. That's what I mean.
I mean, if he's only going to be 33 at the end of that deal, then that's not
6
really
years. Yeah,
bad.
as long as it's not 8. You know, those
Gotcha.
8-year deals will kill you every time.
Once you get 8 and up, yeah. I mean, there are very few players that are truly worth the 8+ deal. I mean, the last 2 we gave out was what? Voracek and Giroux. And I think Giroux, or no, it was Hayes. Never mind. And that was absolutely not worth it.
Yeah,
But anyway.
don't know what you guys saw in Hayes that you pay him that much, but I mean that's why the Rangers got rid of him in the first place. We all liked Kevin Hayes. Don't get me wrong. He's a pretty good player.
Good teammate, really good for the
he's
locker
like a
room.
$5.5 to $6.5 million player, and maybe 3 to 4 year kind of contract for him. Not what you guys paid for him, and not the length. That was too long.
Yeah, that was a rough.
He had a lot of lazy
rough
habits with the Rangers. Being offside and not paying attention to where he's standing when the puck would enter the zone. You know, you'd have a 3-on-2 and he'd be already standing in the other team's zone. I mean, that's just the kind of, I don't know if he did that in Philly a lot, but that was kind of what he used to do in New York, and he used to drive us nuts doing that.
He was guilty of a few things here in the city of brotherly love. That's for sure.
Had a hell of a wrist shot though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that he didn't have talent.
He could skate. Boy, when he started skating from the point and then going around the net and then trying to skate into the slot and then get the shot away, that was always fun to watch because he had that one move and he was pretty hard to stop once he got ahead of steam up.
Right. Mike is saying, how do you fix Toronto in a laughing way? Honestly, how you fix Toronto is you get the egos in check over there, which good luck with that because you got some big ones rolling around that locker room.
If Mike Keenan were like 20 years younger,
he would even have a hard time whipping that team into shape, honestly. Yeah. But the way that they act, good Lord, between Marner being a big old baby about everything and then saying he's a god in his exit interview.
Yeah,
between
Nylander.
And Nylander and
Tavares being a big baby all the time.
And poor Matthews, you just feel like it's like, wow, this poor guy.
Matthews is not a baby. Matthews plays his heart out. I feel bad for him.
It's like, poor dude. Man, he got the short end of the stick, didn't he, out of the two? McDavid got the Oilers. Let's see.
I wonder what he thinks when he sees Hyman go to the Oilers and score 45 goals.
He's probably thinking, man, I wish I got drafted by Edmonton.
Yeah. Mike, how do you think the Leafs must feel about that?
Not good. They probably have to feel like, where the hell was all those goals for us?
Yeah. All those years, did he even score 45 goals?
I don't think so.
Mike here is reading my mind. Just take out Natchez and put in Zegras.
Konechny and Farabee for, in your case, Zegras and a draft pick. In his case, for Natchez and a draft pick.
Konechny and Farabee for Natchez? No. I like Natchez, but that's too much.
What about
too much.
Zegras?
If I'm Anaheim, I don't trade Zegras.
Yeah.
I
don't think
just
it's
think
happening
that.
either.
I mean, you trade him, you could be trading away the next what's his name, the guy Nathan McKinnon. I mean, I think he could be that good. I'd be really careful about trading him.
Right. Okay, guys. So I just noticed we got about 10 minutes left. Boy, this flew right by. So Stanley Cup preview. Let's throw it out there. Who do we think is going to win? What length are we going to see the series? And who do we see get the Conn Smythe? So who wants to throw out theirs first?
Well, we've kind of been touching upon it a little bit, so I'll just lay it out there. I don't usually do predictions, but it's Stanley Cup, so I believe someone else. I heard this somewhere else. John Malmos was it saying Edmonton in 6? I agree. I think Edmonton finally gets it done. I think Bob will do all he can to keep McDavid out of the net, but McJesus will not be denied, and he'll finally break through to the other side. Offense, when you talk offense versus defense, you usually side with the better defense and goalie when it comes to Stanley Cup Finals. But I think Mike Hayes talked about this earlier. Skinner has been on a hot run and can match zeros against Bob. And the Florida's offense, which has been good, steady, but not great. So, Maddie, you talked about how good a defense Edmonton's been playing. If they continue that, I don't think Florida can keep up with their arsenal on offense.
Okay. All right, then. So you got Edmonton winning that one in 6, agreeing with John in the chat. Priz is throwing Panthers in 7. Mike is also throwing Panthers in 7. Mike, feel free to throw out your Conn Smythe brother. Prism is doing Verhage. What a shock for Conn Smythe. It's almost like the guy loves him or something. But
obviously McJesus Conn Smythe, but it would be ironic that Florida finally wins. You know what I mean? Where it had Drew stayed.
Yeah, right. I know it is a shame. I was thinking that too. That's like, wow, they're going back to the finals 2 years in a row, and Giroux's not there. It's like, oh, man, guy deserved a cup, and just right team, wrong time. Anyway, well said, Prism. Just with the tip. Mike is throwing Bob for the Conn Smythe on that one, which not uncommon. Goalies do tend to get a little bit of love for that Conn Smythe, unless you're Brodeur, then it just goes to Jaguar. But anyway, Bri, what you got?
We got Florida in 7 with Bob being the Conn Smythe winner.
All right, so you're agreeing with Mike on that one, and also agreeing with the length and Prism. And
Heyo.
Yeah. Brad, how about you?
Florida in 5 with Reinhardt as the Conn Smythe.
And I love the gentlemanly accent there. Very nice.
Reinhardt, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they do get home ice, so I could see your point. But how does Florida, is it just Bob, really just shutting down Edmonton's offense?
No, I just saw the way they shut down the Rangers power play.
Yeah.
And shutting down and the way they were able to shut down a high flying offensive team like the Rangers.
Right. So why can't they do it again,
and,
right?
And I don't see why they can't do the same thing to Edmonton.
Right.
And Edmonton gets frustrated. And to be honest with you, and I know this is going to sound like sour grapes, but if the referees are going to let Florida hold and throw illegal checks and not call penalties, Edmonton's going to be in big trouble. If they make Florida have to play hockey and not hold, clutch and grab and do all that filthy crap, then Florida's going to be in trouble. But if they're going to let them get away with murder the way they did with the Rangers, I don't see how Edmonton's going to beat them. Florida defensively is just, they're really good.
All right.
And they have a great goalie.
It's true. John saying I'm staying with Edmonton in 6. McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, too much for Florida. John, throw out your Conn Smythe, brother. Now let's see here. Prism saying Reinhardt to Utah for a Brinks truck if he gets the Conn Smythe. And Rosca saying Florida Panthers dynasty 2 years in a row, Eastern Conference champs. And Prism saying, good Lord, what aboutism, the sequel? And for me, oh, by the way, Rosca picked the Panthers in 5, in case you missed earlier in the show. So Brad agrees with them. Yep.
We don't agree very often, me and him.
Right? But you do here.
We do here, yeah.
Rosca, throw out your Conn Smythe, brother. All right. So for me, I am going to roll with, I'm going to go Edmonton. And I'm going to go Edmonton. I'm going to say Edmonton in 6. I think Edmonton figures out how to win. And I think they get just enough goaltending and they play just enough defense to hold on. Because they've impressed the hell out of me in this playoff run. The fact that this team has managed to shut power plays down, and the fact that they've been able to get solid defense when they need it, and Skinner has shown up when he's had to. I mean, hell, they had Pickard starting, Calvin Pickard, and they won that game he started in, by the way. So, again, just saying, they've been playing so well. They've impressed the hell out of me. I'm going to go with it. I say the Canada Cup drought ends at 30 years. And they can bring Connor on a parade on a cross.
Edmonton might burn down to the ground that night. Because Game 6 will be in Edmonton, correct? I believe.
Yeah.
I think Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, because Edmonton
man.
Yeah.
Grease up those telephone poles.
I hope Edmonton embarrasses them. But they're gonna be up against it, trying to score against that team. That team just is tough defensively.
I mean, they are, but I gotta say, yes, Priz, I know I stabbed you in the heart. I know I've wounded you, good sir. I apologize, but I have to go with my gut.
I know. It's this side. It's the right side too. The right side's all Edmonton. The left side. We didn't plan that. We
did not. We're all coordinated here.
Yes. I mean, you want to see the elite players in the league hoist the cup, right? I mean, as much as it killed us here in Philadelphia to see Sidney Crosby raise the cup, well, as an NHL fan, that's what you want to see. Yeah, 3 times, So maybe that was too many, but I mean, the point is that Ovechkin finally got his cup, right? You want to see the elite, and I think McDavid has waited long enough.
You like to see greatness rewarded, just like I
Right.
do, and just like everybody else does.
Right.
And I agree with you about that. And listen, as I said, I hope Edmonton beats the crap out of them. I just. Just because I'm picking the other team, that doesn't mean that I'm not rooting for them.
The holy McDavid.
My father would, bless his heart, he up in heaven, he would be screaming at me right now because he grew up in Calgary and he couldn't.
Oh
Can't root
yeah.
for Edmonton. No.
Sorry, Dad.
Ooh, yeah. I'm sure he must have had nothing but loathing feelings for them Oilers.
He couldn't stand them.
Roscoe, by the way, picks Tarasenko to win the Conn Smythe. Interesting. And
You're not supposed to say that word in front of me, right?
right. And
one goal in the playoffs, and it's the one that wins the series.
Priz also says Ray Bork getting the cup was the best holding the cup moment in hockey. I loved it only because he did it against the Devils, so that was always pleasant to see.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so we're just about ready to close this sucker out. So we are here, gentlemen. Saturday, it will be the day that is upon us. The Stanley Cup Finals. Edmonton.
What time, Maddie?
At 8 o'clock.
Channel?
ABC.
There we go. Just want to make sure we get that out to the audience.
So don't be late.
Yeah.
But Edmonton on one side haven't been in the finals since 2006 when they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes that were led by Hot Rod Brendamore back in the day. And as for the Panthers, they were here last year, lost to Vegas. They were surprised last year. They are not a surprise this year. They are proving to everybody they were no fluke. So
and they're also healthy this year.
That too. So at the end of the day, we'll see who walks away with Lord Stanley's Cup. But we thank everybody for joining us. This has been Flyers Talk A2D, Specialized Physical Therapy. Head to specializedphysicaltherapy.com if you got aches and pains and get those taken care of. And we will see you guys next week as the Stanley Cup Finals will be in full swing, and we will have all the breakdowns for you, all the fun for you. And if anything major for the Flyers pop up, you bet we're going to be talking about it. So we'll see you guys next week here on A2DRadio.com for another episode of Flyers Talk A2D. From all of us here, stay safe, you stay healthy, have fun watching the finals on the weekend. Peace and love, everyone.